Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to the video on the channel. What we have for you today is another wildcard video for the final game week before the World Cup. But before we get started, I just want to say a huge thank you for all the support on the wildcard video last game week. It was incredible. Got 5 new subscribers, a ton of likes, which was just absolutely fantastic. Don't normally set sort of subscriber goals or anything like that, but it does make me think that maybe we could get to 50 before Christmas. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. It's nothing too big, but it would be a great achievement for such a small channel. And keep an eye out for World Cup content coming out on the channel very soon. Everything to do with World Cup Fantasy League, include from things like how to register a team to advice, previews, team qualifications for the World Cup, and who to pick for team selections. So let's get into it. So we've got teams to target here, and you have to bear in mind that that this if you've saved your wild card for game week 16, then fair play to you, really, if that's your strategy. I personally would have done it a couple of weeks ago, maybe, but you are going to have to just go all in this game week, and it is exciting. If you've saved it, it's a free hit essentially because your team you get unlimited transfers during the World Cup, and these are the teams to target here. So we start with Liverpool, Southampton at home, and really like all 5 of these teams. You're just targeting the fixtures, really, maybe a bit of form just in case. But for me, it's really just can you isolate these specific fixtures for this game week? So we start with Liverpool. Currently 2-0 up away at Spurs at half-time of recording this video. Salah's got a couple of goals. He looks like he might be back in form again. I quite like Liverpool defence against Southampton as well. And just like we said in last week's wildcard video, they are the home team, so it is good to target home teams if you are unsure and there's no easy option otherwise. Next up, we've got Arsenal, Wolves away. Now, Wolves are just not in a good place right now. Arsenal are in a good place right now. So those two things merging together, well, it would make sense to get at least one or two Arsenal players in your team. Man City are next, Brentford at home. Now they got well, you say they got a bit lucky against Fulham. They did play well with 10 men for, about an hour of that game. Obviously, Cancelo's been a mainstay in these wildcard teams up until this point. He's probably not going to be in it this game week after getting a red card. And I know a couple of people in some of my mini leagues that actually captained Cancelo this game week and ended up getting a -4. So as bad as my game week was going, it's not as bad as that. Spurs next, and then Leeds at home. Now, Spurs are a funny one, really, because Leeds have just beaten Liverpool away and come back from 3-1 down against Bournemouth. But I do think Spurs they're gonna want to get a win before the World Cup. I do think that you know the form isn't great, but Leeds are a bit all over the place, and there's only so many games you can score last-minute winners in, and sooner or later they're probably going to go 3-1 down to a team and not going to make a comeback. Finally, we've got Crystal Palace, pretty solid overall, never going to score too many, never going to concede too many, but Nottingham Forest away is quite a nice fixture to finish on. Teams to avoid. So just like the teams to target, teams to avoid essentially here are the ones with the worst fixtures. They've probably got the worst form as well. The one you maybe are going to argue against is possibly Leeds away at Spurs. But like we said, those away games, this is a 1 week free hit essentially. So if you are going to target these teams, I don't know why you target the teams that are away from home. Maybe if you've got a bit of free money left at the end and you might want to use it for your first bench. Other than that, I would just stay away. Southampton, Leeds, Wolves, Brentford, and even Chelsea away at Newcastle are all pretty dodgy on form at the moment, apart from Leeds. I do think it's just not worth the risk when there's other options that are clearly on better form than the players that play for these teams. Even players like Ivan Toney away at Man City, I just don't see why you would spend 7.5 million on a striker away at Man City, but that's just me. So moving on to the team, and we start in goal. We've got Allison there. I do quite fancy Liverpool to keep a clean sheet against Southampton. Allison is 5.4 million, which is it's not that expensive when you compare some of the other goalkeepers around that range. I think all you need from your goalkeeper this game week is a guaranteed clean sheet, and I think that's as close as they come with Allison against Southampton. Moving on to the defence and the midfield, we start in defence with Ben White. I do think Wolves away, Diego Costa is still suspended. Whilst we've talked about watching out for the away teams, I think you do have to also factor form into it as well. And Arsenal are just playing so well at the moment, just coming off a win against Chelsea. And Ben White is looking very active down that right hand side, especially at 4.5 million. He's allowed me to get some other big hitters into this team. We've also got Tarkowski away at Bournemouth. Now, when you see the attack in a second, I do think it's dependent on your preference as to who you play from this bench in this starting lineup. It's very interchangeable. But Everton, they have been keeping clean sheets. Whilst the statistics don't necessarily back that up, that they're going to continue that. I do think that potentially away at Bournemouth, that is a game that they could do reasonably well in. Anderson away at Forest. We just spoke about Crystal Palace. And I do think that Palace have been unlucky not to keep more clean sheets recently. And he is at 4.5 million, also an aerial threat from corners. Kieran Trippier, he's got Chelsea away. Not the best fixture, but Newcastle are the form team. Trippier is incredible. He's playing for that World Cup space. I think he should get it. His form has been fantastic this season. He deserves a mention and a space in this wildcard team. Onto the midfield, we start with Saka. He is the form player. He is playing so well, so regularly. He's guaranteed a place on that team playing for England, in my opinion. I just think you ride that wave with Wolves away. That could potentially be goal and assist territory for Saka. Up next is Eze. He is playing really well, and everyone thinks that Zaha is the focal point for Crystal Palace, and he is kind of. But Eze has only got 5 less points than Zaha, and he's 1.5 million cheaper. So, in terms of saving money to invest elsewhere, if you were looking at a Crystal Palace option away at Nottingham Forest, I would go with Eze. Um, up until this game week, they were a level on points, I think. So that just says it all, doesn't it? And if you've got two options and they're both the same number of points scored and one's cheaper than the other, especially by 1.5 mil, well, it would make sense to go for that. Next up, we've got Salah, and then we've got De Bruyne, two big hitters that are on great form. Who you would captain in this team, I don't know, because both have great fixtures. And also up front, we've got Haaland as well. So whichever one you prefer. Also up front, we've got Solanke. Now, kind of contradicting myself by having an Everton defender in with what I'm about to say about Bournemouth, but they are attacking really well. Not defending very well. We stayed well clear of their defenders. But in terms of attack, I do quite like the prices that they had. That 5.5 million range. So much so that on the bench, I've actually got Kiefer Moore as well. Double Bournemouth attack, maybe a little bit risky, but they are the home team, and both strikers are scoring and creating problems in the last couple of game weeks. And remember, this is a 1 week hit, so you're not going to keep double Bournemouth attack forever. And like I said before with Tarkowski, it's up to your preference. You might want to put Kiefer Moore in instead of Tarkowski because you back the Bournemouth attack. Or you might want to do, a Bournemouth attacker and an Everton defender just to sort of hedge your bets in case Bournemouth don't score, Everton keep a clean sheet. You've got those points in the bank, sort of guaranteed either way. It's completely up to you and what you're feeling. But I have gone big hitter heavy here. On the bench as well is Bueno. He's playing Arsenal, but he is one of the cheapest players there, and he is actually playing. So it has shown this game week that you do maybe need some bench players that are going to go in and contribute, just like what we've left Andreas in there, 4.5, 4.6 million. I just think he is just, an easy choice to have in your team. Last couple of tips we've got here. Just go for it. In terms of and it's fantasy league, and if you've saved your wild card for this time, you've got nothing to lose. Next week should be a great game week for you just to enjoy it and spend a bit of time messing about with your team. And it's use it or lose it as well. If you've kind of forgotten about it and you've been a bit busy the last few game weeks, you might as well use your wild card because you're not going to have it after the World Cup. We all get one more wild card to use, and we also get all those free transfers during the World Cup as well. So if this has helped you out at all with your thought process, maybe you're not wildcarding, but maybe you're just looking at making one or two transfers and it's helped you think about who to get in, drop a like, drop a subscribe on the video. Appreciate all the support again. Thank you so much for all the support in last week's wildcard video. Keep an eye out for all the World Cup content coming up. That's going to start this week, and I will see you in the next one.